Hi, so this is my first video on YouTube, and as you can tell by the description, it's about pros and cons of getting gauges. Disclaimer, I'm not hating, not trying to persuade. I'm trying to do this from a unbiased point of view, but I have gauges, so it's kind of hard to. My gauges are 00, so they're not the smallest, they're not the biggest, so most of the stuff I have experienced, and I kind of do know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start with cons first and move on to pros. Con number 1, work. There's a reason you don't see lawyers, doctors, psychiatrists, just people with higher paying jobs wearing gauges. Doesn't necessarily mean gauges are bad or that if you have gauges you're doomed to minimum wage. It's just those careers tend to be brought up from a traditional point of view, and gauges just aren't really that traditional in most people's eyes. So it might be a little harder. Some places really are strict about the whole no gauges, no piercings thing. But that's just something you do really, that's, for me personally, what I had to think about the most when I was getting my gauges. Con number 2 is stereotypes. Some of my most recent stereotypes would have to be, oh, you're a drug addict because you have holes in your ears, emo, she likes the pain. That I'm crazy for doing this, that it's ugly, doesn't really matter to me. If you are a person that, however, does care a lot about how people think of them, then maybe this isn't the best thing for you, but personally I do like my gauges, and to me, they're wonderful and beautiful. Shouldn't matter to anyone but yourself. Then the last con I can think of, really, is that after a while, the only way to get them to look normal again is to have them surgically altered, and that could just leave scarring, and that could just cost a lot, and just problem. Maybe you don't want to deal with this. You shouldn't really, if you're 10, please, if you're like 10 to like 12, or not really grown up yet, please stop and consider that this isn't something you could just go YOLO about and do fucking damage to your future. You need to think about this so you don't regret this, because body modification is what it is. Body modification. You can go back on some of this you can't. So you really do have to think about this. If you don't have like a unraveled mind, or if this is just a phase and next year you'll end up regretting it. Really think about this is the other thing. The thing that I want to say that's kind of in between is that gauging up gets addicting. Like, I was at a smaller size first, and I thought it was big, but then I had this like craving to just move up and keep going bigger. So that's also one thing that kind of got me. It's not really bad or good. Um, you know. So now the pros. Well, not personally. There are more selections on earrings, design, size, just much more things on gauges than there are normal earrings. And style. Now, feel free to put your own like box of whatever style means, because I can't really tell you what style is. You have to kind of interpret that on your own. It is really about style the most. Um, but yeah, so just think about that. And now I guess I'll move on to gauges. So here's a taper, and anyone who has seen a taper before knows that this isn't a normal taper, it's cut. Tapers usually look like this, depending on size. They have a smaller tip so you can kind of fit it through and stretch. Now this one I had to cut because my school had a safety issue with these as they got bigger, and I couldn't get plugs at the minute. So talking about plugs, these are plugs. These are just basically tapers but without the point. These are harder to put in if you don't have your ear stretched out, and these are hard to stretch out with bigger sizes. So you might want to just get these, which are basically just when they go from a smaller point to a bigger point. These are kind of better. These aren't exactly spirals either, but yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is tunnels, which I actually have this one on my ear. These are what you can't get through normal piercings. Now, as you can see, you could kind of see, you could see through the wall, through anything really. You can't get this without having a hole in your ear. So these are silicone. You just kind of fold them in half and put the half in your ear, and then once it's in your ear, you kind of use your fingers to spread them out. Now, a lot of people have kind of been complaining about infection and stuff with these. If you let your ear heal completely, then it won't irritate your skin as much. So now, as you can see, you can see through this. These are personally my favorite because I think they're just something you can't get from normal earrings. Next thing is spirals. So this is obviously a huge spiral. This is a 00. I know this looks heavy, but it's actually not that heavy. It's a glass spiral, and it has a rubber stopper right here. So I'm going to show you how to put these in. Basically what it is you put the smaller edge through your ear, and you push it through, and then once you have it through, you just kind of go like this. Well, I'd show you, but this is kind of hard to do without any kind of lubricant on a dry ear, I guess you could say. Yeah, I'll just move this one. So you just kind of put this in, you know. It really isn't that hard to put in. But dry ear is kind of hard to, you know. So obviously you put this in like this, and then you reach the stopper, and you put in another stopper so the back doesn't slide off. This looks heavy. This really isn't. I can't really stress it enough. There are weights that could stretch your ears without you having to put in bigger ones. That to me is unhealthy because it could create indents in your ear, and that's not something you want, trust me. So those are pretty much the styles of gauges. I hope I helped you decide whether or not to get gauges or not to. I have personally enjoyed my gauges for as long as I've had them. And, you know, again, do whatever you want. I'm not trying to hate on anything, but don't look down, don't look up upon people that don't have what you have. If people don't have gauges, that doesn't mean less than you. And for the people that are watching this and think gauges are stupid, you're entitled to your own opinion. I don't think you should be saying anything about anyone else's gauges or anyone else's piercings, anyone else's body mods, unless you have had them and know what you're talking about. But yeah, so I hope I helped you, and bye.